It's been so long since I've heard that.
Heard what?
Slow down, please. That. The Pale Isle. For a city this dark to have a heart so bright. Let's go. This is new.
Extra security measures, sir, since the war began.
Business?
Transport.
And who are you transport... I see.
Problem, Ilencio?
Carry on.
Well, that wasn't very polite.
You don't expect them to treat war criminals with politeness, do you?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to.
No. Stop the coach, please. I think I'd like a little time to myself, if you don't mind. I'll make my way up to the White Spire when I'm done.
Of course, sir. We'll be at the stables if you need to find us.
What do we have here? Something new again. The Contadani. The Masquerada might be the jewels of Ombre, but it is the Contadani that are its lifeblood. A large number of the Contadani are found outside the city, in the lands known as the Echoing Plains. The plains are still within the national borders of Ombre, and the settlements in the plains are collectively known as the Randagia, something like that, house, a great many of the nation's Contadani. Oh, the plains known as the Randagia house the many that are the nation's Contadani. Nothing like stumbling on a word to completely lose track of how the whole sentence was structured up till then. Life in the Randagia is relatively simple compared to that in the city. Farming and raising cattle are the most common jobs taken up by the Contadani living there. Within the city itself, however, a great many Contadani have taken up residence. To many people from foreign lands, their presence in the city makes no sense. It is a dangerous place, one filled with death and poverty. Yet, why does it attract so many of the nation's lower class? Most of Ombre's scholars believe that once enough individuals come together to form a sufficiently large society, the society begins to behave in ways that are independent of, perhaps even detrimental to, the interests of its members. In a way, the city develops a mind, a will of its own to survive and to keep plowing on. So, they say, asking why Contadani continue to live in the city is problematic, because it assumes that the individual desires of each Contadani would somehow be reflected in the larger movement of the city, when that is in fact not nearly the case. The cyclical rhetoric that has been given is that the Contadani remain in the city because they are part of it, and, despite their individual desires, have no power as a collective to change that. To a certain degree, I believe in the theory, but I fear it all too well masks a quieter reason for the growing existence of our underprivileged lower class, the potential of fulfillment. Many Contadani glamorize the lives of the Masquerada, and I cannot blame them for doing so. We bend the elements of the world to our will. We live in lavish houses and beautiful vistas. We needn't ever worry about finding food for the next meal. This lifestyle has a strong lure, especially to those of empty stomachs and vacant purses, and has brought a great number of Contadani to the city. These are men and women who harbor the hopes that, by placing themselves in the direct vicinity of the Masquerada, they will one day be able to join their ranks. That hope is not a futile one. I myself have made the transition, although it is not one that often gets fulfilled. So enjoy the analog, the constant inference of the lack of equality, and people who almost are like willing to put up with, let's see, 12 years. 12 years I've slaved, and for what? Really, 12 years I've slaved? Throw my life away defending those useless lassards. Careful, Cerise. I have a child, she needs me. Really, 12 years you've slaved? That's... God damn it. That's on purpose, right? To look like, to just directly reference to 12 years a slave verbally. Hello, you guys are hiding down here. Not that I can do anything. I don't think this is really much of an exploration game, honestly. You might be able to find lore, that's the main thing, but the, other than that, there doesn't seem to be NPC interactions, much going on in general. The Pale Isle. The Pale Isle is the Registry's principal ward, and by nature of its proximity to the White Spire, mostly exists to serve the desires and wants of the members of the Registry. There are numerous taverns situated in the Pale Isle, as well as other recreational facilities that help the people of the White Spire take the edge off life in the Shadowed City. But yeah, to some extent, as they sort of explored there a bit, there's a certain aspect in both real society and fictional societies where people are willing to put up with the fact that they're underprivileged compared to others.
Hey, aren't you forgetting something, scum? Oi, I'm talking to... Of all the souls, I never thought I'd get to see you again.
What do you want?
What do I want? I want you to have a taste of what we went through because of you. Oh, the mouse has teeth. Let's see how well he bites.
Here they come!
Hey Pavlov, where's your dog? Oops. I put my mouse on the bottom of the screen to avoid keeping on the screen during cutscenes, but then it auto-scrolls. Whoops. I might just replace that. Yeah, let's just get rid of that. I generally scroll with WASD anyway, since I figured out that that's how that works. But anyway, what I was getting at... Is it not a thing in here? Controls? These are all the other types of controls. Anyway, what I was getting at is that the, there it is. There's a tendency in society to allow inequalities to exist. Wow, I'm screwed here. Because the people who are underprivileged often convince themselves that they can become the higher class, and that's why they permit the concept of the inequality in the first place. And it's usually one of the leading things that leads to them not rising up in the first place. I have no skills to use, and he's obliterating me. I could try running away, but I don't think that's really an option. Aha! You'll never catch me now! Haha! Wait, why am I clicking? I can just WASD. I forgot I have direct control over him during combat. Yeah, I have no skills. I guess I just have to accept this. It's probably a scripted loss.
Over here!
Come save me, story!
The man who lives like a coward deserves to suffer like one. Valencio, Sir, I swear... I didn't...
Attention! We are in the middle of a war, Sinencio. Do you understand that?
I didn't...
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Your Masquerine is to be used against the mask runners of the city, not against its citizens, exiled or not. You have demonstrated a sore lack of understanding with regards to the utilization of Mascherines. You will unbind from your Masquerine and have the privilege of its company revoked for a period of 10 days. Keep me waiting any longer and it'll be 30. Go. You lucky bastard. If I hadn't been out for a drink...
At this time, someone's picked up some habits.
Why are you here, Cicero? A man with your reputation must be either mad or desperate to return to the city.
Here, read it.
Summoned back to Umber at the request of the Verone, your exile will be revoked and you will be granted a grand sum of... So what? You're back for the money?
Mad or desperate.
And do you know for what reason you've been called back?
If you can decipher anything from this cryptic mess, please.
You need to see a Vestus.
Accompany me? I think it'd be a good time to hear what's been going on.
You mean it'd be good to have a bodyguard?
I was trying to be nice.
Come on. He's in the White Spire.
I love that he was so powerful that his punishment was just a flurry of slaps, essentially. Also, I didn't notice that until just now, but when our character was getting up, I realized that the little animated portrait during conversations is actually just a separate camera angle of the same game, because the animations are perfectly in sync. You can't make it out from here because of how the outlines work and how far away we are, but that's just the same character model in both here and the top corner. It's just a way closer camera angle. Usually when there's a high detail portrait and a low detail top down, it's usually because they're literally two different representations of the character, but they actually are the same. Which actually has me wondering why the game doesn't have cutscenes where we just zoom in and have the whole camera look at the character instead of this weird thing where it's mostly top down but a tiny dialogue box opens up. My best guess would be that the environment we're walking around in probably doesn't stand up to that kind of camera angle change. If we started looking around, we'd probably see a bunch of missing buildings everywhere, and the area ahead of me might have some stuff because that's the way the camera's pointing, but the way that my camera's above, like this southern direction here, that whole direction's probably a series of empty areas because they probably don't even have walls over there because the camera is not supposed to ever look that way. That's my best guess about what's going on here, or they just didn't want to try that. It's odd either way to me, a little bit. Let's go ahead and close some of these because they're too open right now. Learn about magic. If I were to guess, I would guess we're probably going to find out that the Mascherines are so powerful that anyone with a Mascherine can defeat almost anyone who doesn't have a Mascherine, because that guy seemed like some lowly idiot. He didn't seem like he'd be the most skilled soldier ever, but we didn't even slightly stand a chance against him, even though we've already demonstrated that we are better fighters in the previous level than the entire squad of people that tried to attack us. So if we're an exceptional fighter and some fat idiot can't be defeated by us, then the masks are no small deal. Binding. The first step that any Masquerada needs to take before being able to use a Masquerine is a process called binding. It is a simple task. All it takes is a mere imagining of a connection between the Masquerada to be and the Masquerine, and it is done. The consequences, however, are far from simple. Should a Masquerada perish while bonded to a Masquerine, the Masquerine itself fades away into fine dust that blows away on invisible winds. Oh. So it seems that if you're not attached to it, the mask will still just be a mask, and that's fine. But you need to physically remove it from somebody if you want it to still exist after they're defeated. So, for example, oh yeah, we saw this actually. We saw when my brother was killed, I believe during that cutscene his mask disappeared over the course of that. The other one we have down here, the Valencio. Leading the ranks of the Portieri is the Valencio, in charge of the training and regimentation of all the Portieri. The Valencio is not a figure to be trifled with, though few outside the registry or even the Portieri understand fully the burdens and responsibilities of the Valencio. None in the city would dare doubt the branding prowess of they who held the title. Interesting. Also, I thought I saw 3 pop-ups at once, but it seems only 2 stars were on the screen, unless I missed one. Or is it in gameplay? No? I thought I saw 3 pop-ups and only... Oh, duh. Separate menu. Members of the registry. There we go. Tristan Delzol. Let's learn about our new companion that just rescued us. If there has ever been a better personification of the stalwart duty than Tristan Delzol, I have yet to find it. The current Valencio of the city and I have quite a history together. We had both been Portieri at the same time and had served in the same section when we were, but Alencios just starting out at our careers. He joined the forces because of his family legacy. One of the first just more new words, Jesus. We're getting to the point where every sentence has like 4 of these now and it's getting a little hard to process. One of the first few Valerons of the city had been Ramus Delzol, whose assassination served as the spark that began the events that led up to the March of the Broken Songs. Despite his assassination, however, the ancient Delzol was reputedly a great man and an excellent fighter. Tristan admits freely that he feels no emotional connection to this story of his great forebear, but his father had wanted him to be a part of the portiere as his father did before him, so and so on and so forth. So, though Tristan couldn't have cared less about what Ramus would have thought, he certainly was a great deal more concerned about the opinion of his own father, who himself had been the Valencio before Tristan. It was, in fact, his father who had allowed him to join the portiere, though that is a story for another time. And so Tristan and I began our journeys together, he, the descendant of some famous politician, and I, the descendant of a Contadani smith and a florist. That's definitely an unusual friendship for this society, it would seem. Look at these little details. Everyone's sad in this society. A bunch of guards sitting around, and villagers are always slouching or arguing or laying down, or this guy looks like he's an alcoholic, homeless man, so it's not a great start either. Where's Shaw? She did not make it out of the quiet order. Oh, my condolences. And where have we come out? The Pale Isle grounds. Oh, there's a chicken. They had to animate a little chicken. Nothing seems to be stashed over here. Yeah, I don't know if there's any environment loot in this game. I think it's just a chance to find hidden codex entries, and otherwise maybe a series of linear hallways. The question will be whether or not it opens up over time, or if this opening area represents the whole game. Something about the disquieting, the spire, always there, always watching. Oh, that's the purpose of government, isn't it? Perhaps, but sometimes it feels like they see too much up there. So he's disquieted by the spire being up there. Hello. There's always
look at that.
There's always another one. Elysia. The land of the greatest philosophers, Elysia was the first country from across the belt to trade with Ombre. It was Elysia's influence over the early settlers of Ombre that nourished the sect within the registry known as the Vigiles, the scholars of the city. Elysians pride themselves on their philosophical pursuits, though that seems to have distanced them none from the avarice that Ombre tends to inspire. Whatever the case, the city is, and will continue to be, welcoming of the Elysians' interest in the city, for Elysia is the one country that provides Ombre with blood poppy, a flower that yields a brilliant crimson dye, with a richness found nowhere else. Wow. That's rather haughty, isn't it, that their entire relationship is based around the fact that they have a good color.
Stones. I'd have expected the war to curb trade a little.
It did. For about 3 months, until the countries across the belt realized how much they missed our work.
And so they decide to send their traders to a country steeped in civil war.
It isn't that bad. The bloodiest sons have all set. We're just cleaning up what's left of it. In fact, I think in a few years it'll be completely over.
Let's keep going.
Sounds like an extensive conflict going on. Looks like a few people are just shouting about their wares.
I want it!
We don't care. You're at least a week away from another rotation.
I'm the best firebrand here, and you know it.
Get lost, Travis. You know there's no way you're going to get it.
Were they arguing over a masquerine? Aren't there enough to go around?
The war. Ever since your brother gave out all those masquerines to the mask runners, the death toll on both sides has been great.
And you've been losing masquerines.
So long as they sit upon a dying face, to the dust they go. And now, the city is running out of them. Everyone's feeling it. The guilds, the mask runners, the registry. The Vegilis even suspect that in the next 50 years or so, there'll be fewer than 100 masquerines left.
But there were thousands before. Surely 5 years...
5 years have crippled this country, Cicero. I am sorry. That did not come out as smoothly as I had intended.
You're tired. I understand.
You would, wouldn't you? Well, let's not keep a Vestus waiting.
There we go. So all these different elements are coming together now. The idea that the brother, the Mascherines are so powerful that normal people can't stand against them, but they disappear upon death. So when the brother scattered a bunch of the masks to a series of other people that were outside of the ruling class, suddenly the two groups could fight each other instead of one just hopelessly ruling over the other one. But that's led to deaths, which has led to the Mascherines being destroyed. And I don't think we know about how they're created yet, do we? I don't know if they're a finite resource, like the embers from Ember, or if there's something that's crafted, but maybe they're just hard to craft, so we can't keep up with the demand because everyone's dying. But that's a genuine revolution what happened there, that kind of stuff happened. The question is whether it's going to be good or bad for the country in the long run. Masquerines. If there's one thing that defined Ombre, it would not be the Masquerada or its artistic landscape, or even the mountain under which it hides. It would be the Masquerines, masks of magic that grant their wearers the ability to harness elements with efficiency. The Masquerines are the distinguishing element that separates the country from the rest of the world that surrounds it. Oh, so these are not normal then, huh? It's just this government? That's got to give this country a huge advantage during war then, and if that's the case, then if we're losing all of them, that could really make the entire country very vulnerable in the future if they lose their big advantage during war. When the first came to the lands of Ombre, the Masquerines were already there. Oh, that's not a good sign, so they just exist already? And in the early ages of Ombre's history, they were feared. The effects that using Masquerines had on its wearers was not completely understood, and neither was the act of using them. People regarded Masquerines with apprehension, for they did not comprehend the mechanics behind their powers. Even till modernity, there were remnants of that apprehension, though society has mostly gotten over their fears, having been spurred forward to embrace the Masquerines for the power they promise. The power the Masquerines hold has never been more valued in recent years, or has been ever more valued in recent years, especially considering their disappearing nature. Masquerines inexplicably vanish should they be worn upon the face of a dying being. Again, the reasons behind this death rattle are just as shrouded in mystery as the origins of the Masquerines themselves, but have rendered the artifacts a completely disappearing commodity, or a quickly disappearing commodity. That's a really big deal. So they predate our entire culture, which means that that most likely people don't know how to make them, and there is a scarcity to it, and they're all noteworthy resources, and this is a permanent change. Actually, a lot of connections between this and Ember that I'm playing right now. These things that give people power but permanently vanish, and only certain people really know how to use them, and a lot of people feared them, and generally, people may not even fully understand where they came from or how to deal with them, but they just know how to use them, and they may do so irresponsibly. So the yellow things also appear to be lore spots. So I assume that yellow, or actually it's more of a gold, so that these gold spots must give you conversation that's optional, and the purples give you codex entries.
What are they up to? You don't recognize it. That's Gavar's caprice. I'm surprised it took you so long to spot it.
Uh-oh. That can't make him feel very good. Straight up remnant of his brother being used as a training dummy. Whoops. If I fall in, would you rescue me? Anyone daft enough to fall in isn't deserving a rescue if you ask me. Ouch. Yeah, that's the sound that you'll make when you hit the bottom of the fall, actually. The funny thing is that their talking animation makes their left hand clip through their drum over and over again. Like, this talking animation's not made with this costume in mind. Here we go, the media. The media are methods practiced by the Masquerada to better harness the powers of the Masquerines. How the media help in the wielding of this power has yet to be fully understood, but it has been determined that through the practice of certain forms of the craft, the Masquerada gains the ability to channel their powers with more finesse and precision. The elements bend more precisely to the will of a Masquerada, well practiced in a media. There are, to this day, 7 known media, 6 of which have been classified into pairs. There prevails the belief that according to the patterns of the media, there must exist an 8th as well, though the evangelists have been unable to ascertain either its presence or its nature. The various media, in their parts, are... there's Fisica, which is Medanza and Merobusto. The Visiva, which is Melaire and Messaner, or Messanar. Eterna, or Eteria, which is these are unpronounceable. Mecanter and Merumento, and Mesensa, which currently exists alone. That's the one that's missing its pair. At first I was like, oh, Physica. Like, the first one's like talking about physical abilities, and the other ones are going to be other things, but I don't know. The other ones would... The other words are more obscured to me than the potential hint that Physica seemed to have. Yeah, these two look like they're fighting each other. That's believable. You guys go at it. Yeah, you got this. That'll work in the field. Also, this guy has killed her like 4 times already by just stabbing straight through her, but she's just kind of flailing at the air. It's adorable that they let the children in here. More reading. Someone's gonna get mad at me. The White Spire. Sitting at the highest point of the city, the White Spire has a view that covers all of its charge. It is the pinnacle of the Registry's authority, the embodiment of its role as guardian and caretaker of Ombre. Certainly, there are many in this day that disagree with the Registry's methods and dispute their efficacy, but the fact remains that the Registry stands to watch over us all. Built upon the ancient ruins of some long-forgotten tower, the White Spire was constructed in a matter of days. Record time, even with the help of the Earth Brands. The construction of the spire served not only to establish quickly a base of operations for the Registry, but to remind the citizens that it governed, that had the capability and power and was willing to use it to perform such a feat. So it's almost like a scaring tactic, like, look what we can do. This whole tower was built, boom, just like that. Don't fuck with us. You don't suppose Gavar's been pardoned? Why else would he be here? Frankly, even if I was pardoned, I'd stay in the fields. Have you met a barmaid? Seriously? It's hard to read in time when it goes that fast. So they're talking about my pardon and the fact that I'm here. What are you doing? Where are you going? Alright, you running laps? He appears to be running laps. Oh, hello. Is he tracing the V? Huh. So he doesn't run full laps, he specifically runs this weird zigzag pattern over and over again. Alright, you do you, I guess. More. The Registry again. Once, we had been called heretics. We were cast out from our lands. Wow, I've never seen that word before. Deracinated? Deracinated. Deracinated. Let's find out what that means. Uprooted or displaced from one's geographical or social environment, a person who has been or feels displaced. So displaced basically is more or less it's more or less a synonym, although the context probably changes the word a bit. Alright, so we were cast out from our lands, displaced, which is also, funnily enough, that's actually like a synonym with the phrase before it, of course. It's like they were teaching me the word. It's like a vocabulary lesson. Labeled traitors and blasphemers. We were the other, the alien, the outcast. Yet we were but individuals. We were of many, but were of no banner. We had myriad voices, but no clarion to lead us. We were scattered, and we walked blinded by a foul light. But now, we have begun to weave the tapestry that will bind us, begun to cultivate the soils that are to serve as the base of our civilization, a new civilization that will rip the yokes of our heritage off our backs and bury them underfoot. We are a new people of a new nation now, and we will relish this freedom with guiltless ecstasy. We are our own leaders. Our laws will be fashioned of the hammers of our wills, and not by divine words. The Moors will be shaped by sophists and sages, and not by priests and prophets. We are united now. We are a people. An excerpt from the speech delivered by the very first Veron, Ormius Phygius, at the founding of the Registry, during the 10th Missura of the First Canticle, 41 IL, or 40 IL. A vast majority of Ombre takes the Registry, the country's government, for granted. And I'm not saying this simply because I am, or at least was, a member of it. The Registry's duties in the city aren't all-encompassing. Many of the city's cogs are kept turning by the Simora, which has led to the proliferation of the opinion that they are responsible for little. This, however, is inaccurate. The modern Ombrian simply does not see the waves that the registry makes, or the forces that it reckons with. A main responsibility of the registry is handling international affairs. To anyone on the streets of Ombre, the concept might ring foreign. It is easy to forget, living in the city, that there exists an entire world out there, with other peoples and other nations and other societies. We are too concerned with surviving to think of the worlds across the Midnight Belt or beyond the Echoing Plains. Unfortunately, the reverse cannot be said. Ombre, with its military power and flourishing cultural and economic landscapes, is a land upon which many other countries gaze. These gazes are often awesome in nature, but it is easy for admiration to turn into lust. The registry has concocted a great many ways to handle this in any international relations that begin to sour, the list of which is too long to go into detail, and these measures have allowed the tiny country to survive. There we go. So we're getting more and more clarification about what various words mean here, because there's a lot of proper nouns being thrown around. So the registry is explicitly the name of the government. And
So, any idea why the old man wants to see me?
Not a very solid one. One of the Regenti has gone missing. And these walls should not be privy to this conversation.
Aha, so nothing to say, basically. And as I said before, that there's a very real risk that the masks make this government weaker, which means that they could be under attack from outside forces. So while there may be injustices in this society, if you destabilize it, you may only be weakening it for outside forces. This actually sets the stage for a pretty crazy story if they follow through with all these different elements. Nice fountain. Where's that water coming from? Oh, right. Momentarily forgot how fountains work, which that's just looping. That's not just being pumped like a faucet or something. Look at this guy. It is neat, I'll give them that much. Huh, it's cold. Too much stone. Not enough gold. Ah, and they're dressed in gold and red. So they must be from a different government entirely, here as ambassadors or something along those lines. By the way, minor quirk here of the graphics. Oh, never mind, that's the transparency. I thought I was looking at the reflection of something on the ground, but that's just this archway going transparent. I'm like, look, I was like, look at this reflection going off into the black space. But no. I'm just wrong. Ah, it's that grey-blood Gavar again. Keeps coming back like a bad rash, eh? And just as we welcome on every time. Nobody's happy to see me here. It makes sense. My brother destabilized the government, which is kind of a problem for people in the government building, as you might imagine. Oh, look, it's the room where they fought. So we're explicitly in familiar territory now. I can't go through this door, can I? No. So that they fought. So they broke into this building during the prologue. Then, so right behind that door, if I remember correctly, is that pillar with all the Mascherines in it. The storage place where they keep all of them, and that's where they stole them for the mask runners. Hello. And make certain the Rahil stays away. Surely there's a less extreme measure. The boy is young and in love. He's stalking my apprentice. But if your son does not stay away from Valexia, you may rest assured, good sir, that you will answer to my court. These look like 3 different governments, none of which I think are ours. So you see the gold and red guy from earlier, then you see this person that's mostly in white and gray, and then there's this flamboyant-looking orange and purple and red and green, just covered in colors. So they're probably from entirely different cultures, which makes sense based on what this place is. The prospect of going for another diplomatic mission is just awful. Maybe one day you will find a way to get Mascherines working beyond the stones. Well, until that day comes, consider me cursing... didn't see the rest of that. So the Mascherines don't work beyond the stones. Interesting. So that means that they function as a defensive device to keep this place alive, and it empowers the military force to keep this place as a fortress. But if I'm interpreting that correctly, that it also means that they can't invade people using Mascherines, which makes this inherently more of a turtle society.
Here we are.
Tell me he's changed, at least a little.
Have fun finding out.
In all the 20 years that I have spent perched upon the spire, not once have I seen my city so broken.
Tristan was telling me the war's almost over.
Over? When does a war end? When the trumpets of peace sound? When the mask runners are dead in the gutter? No. It ends when it ceases to echo through every street or shadow every face. It is over when the halls that it has emptied fill once again. This war is far from over. I trust the past 5 years have treated you well?
They've been kind.
Kind? Is that what you call those years you spent throwing all your coin at barkeeps, fleeing the grip of sobriety?
How?
The Cavalli Fields may be located across the belt, but it's still within the registry's vigil.
And so is plagued by old rats. Why am I here?
The answer is all around you. You've been to the docks. You've walked through the grounds. How many portieri enjoy the company of Mascherines?
Tristan told me. The city's losing too many of them.
We must learn the secrets of the Mascherines. Learn how to stop them from disintegrating upon their wearer's death.
This is a job better suited for the Vigilus.
Widen your mind, Cicero. You think I called you here to bury your nose in dusty tomes? You are not the first that I've spoken to of these matters. A regente of mine was tasked 3 months ago to explore the annals we have on Mascherines. You are here to find him.
How long's he been missing?
He missed sending in his last report due 20 days ago.
And you've sent no one else?
Ofina and Corvus were sent to investigate.
What did they find?
That their songs were shorter than they expected.
Both of them?
Ofina was found hanging in her room, hands tied, wrists slit. Corvus's body was not so fortunate. Whoever it was had resources, wit, knowledge, finesse. It's a pity the two before you managed to find nothing apart from their own deaths.
So you called me back to feed me to the dogs?
No, I called you back to find my regente. If the canines come at you while you're at it, well...
You're a fool if you think I'll do this.
I'll think much more than that if you turn away. Especially if you read the case notes. You might find the name of my regente interesting.
Razatov.
You two were acquainted, were you not?
Anything else?
Only that you are to breathe no word whatsoever to anyone else regarding this case. Everything else you need is in those notes. Arm yourself in the Hall of Bearings. Then see what you can find. His office in the East Wing is probably a good place to start. That is all.
One last new one, huh? Avestus Alam. There are few as calculative as Avestus Alam. Certainly, I do not look to him to learn anything regarding matters of ethics of the heart. But when it comes to being efficient and objective, I consider him a master. I'd like to say that he hasn't always been this way, and then I'd proceed to tell you of a tragic tale that made his heart so callous, but to do so would require me to fabricate a lie. For all the time I have known him, which amounts to a fair bit, he has always put the welfare of the city and the registry above everything else, his personal affairs included. Yes, there is certainly something about his doggedness to be admired, but I do wonder how much it's cost him. I know he has given up much, but on the outside, he shows little remorse or regret. How much that is true on the inside, however, I have not gleaned. So he seems to be on the up and up at the very least. He at least tries to keep this place in one piece, and so it doesn't put himself ahead of that. But what is he going to be willing to do along the way?